see. So I've had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome my entire life, but I didn't know until like 2021. That's when I was diagnosed, and I didn't really even know what it was. It is a rare connective tissue disease, supposedly rare. I don't know how rare it is, really, but whatever. But it's not fun. I used to wear corrective shoes when I was little because of how I walked with my feet like pointing inwards, so I think that was attributed to it. And anyway, the sky is so pretty right now. So things that I'm not really sure how to process still, that I don't really know if I should or shouldn't talk about, that involve things that I've experienced like inpatient at different hospitals. One of them would be my experience of when I had a fibromyalgia flare and I guess an Ehlers-Danlos flare, and I ended up being hospitalized because I couldn't walk and I had some seizures, and I also had a PTSD episode basically. So it's just a series of unfortunate events. Anyways, I was just about to go to CVS to pick up something for my daughter. Anyway. During that time, I experienced like a really scary experience, and at one point I was put in restraints, and so here's the issue that I have. Part of my hesitance about telling my story is like people not believing me. So, and then like I still use all of my doctors at this health system. Like I still use this hospital. But just a little bit of a background. I haven't had my thyroid since 2016. And metastatic thyroid cancer. I had a tumor, and the tumor cells invaded nearby blood vessels, and so it had like spread. Now here's the thing: the type of thyroid cancer I have, papillary, pretty mild as far as like slow growing and all that kind of stuff. But the issue is like your thyroid is very important to the overall health and function of the rest of your body. So not having it for the last 8 years, that has definitely impacted my life. Even with medication, living without a thyroid has been difficult. And then also subsequent surgery that I had in 2019, having over 30 lymph nodes removed. I think it was like 37 or something like that, from behind my jugular in 2019. And along with dysfunction in my genetics, I suppose, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disease where all of the connective tissue in my body, all the collagen, lacks an essential protein, and it causes hyperelasticity, but a lot of other issues. And one of the characteristics that you'll experience typically of the type that I have is chronic pain. It's very difficult. I also have very like mobile joints and things. And then I have fibromyalgia, and then I had Lyme disease in 2015. So there's been a lot of things that have affected my endocrine system, my hormones, my neurological system, anyways. And then I also have Chiari malformation, which a lot of people that have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome have that. It's not that uncommon. And mine, I would say, is fairly mild. But it has given me some neurological symptoms, and I'm apologizing as well. I am a little out of breath most of the time, even though I'm sitting here, because I've had a lung infection since December. FYI, it's like the first week of April. Anyway, I live my life. And then back to being hospitalized. This was in 2021. At this time, I was having difficulty walking, having seizures. It was bad. And so I was in the hospital. And then I had a psychotic episode. Mind you, I was like in the process of trying to get out of an abusive marriage, where that will be discussed another time, if ever, just because it's like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Anyway, it was difficult, and a lot of things were triggered, and I've dealt with PTSD most of my life. And I've been diagnosed with a lot of different things as well on top of it that have made treating me, I think, more difficult. And then also my difficulties in communicating that I've continued to try and work on. Anyway, sorry, sometimes I have difficulty swallowing. One of the things I've recently been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is gastric paresis, and that's fine. It's difficult, and I don't like it, but I'm going to deal with it. And I'm having to completely change my diet again. And my voice is shaky for a few reasons, and one is just that, like, sometimes under stress, like, I just kind of have a little bit of a symptom flare, but that's okay. Anyway, plus it's like, this is an emotional topic. So while I was hospitalized at this health system, within about a week of being there, the thing that really sucks is, like, there's so many fucking things that I want to say about this. Part of my language, or part of my French. Okay, so I started having a psychotic episode, and my blood work was like a bit off, and at one point they were giving me like an MRI and stuff like that. I'm running all these other tests and things like that, and then at one point I was restrained because of my psychotic features, and then the fact that, like, I was having difficulty walking and they didn't want me to fall. I was like a fall risk. But because I had been hospitalized for like 4 days or something like that, they told me that, like, I had to get the fucking COVID vaccine. I didn't have a choice, and I had a problem with that because I already have other health problems, and I'm skeptical about side effects, and I just didn't want to get it in that setting when my immune system was like already down. Anyways, so I was like held down, and then like forced me to get it, and like the next, I don't know if it was like later that day or the next day, this like nurse is evaluating me, and she's like, did anyone tell you that you have Bell's palsy? And here's the thing, it's super mild. And I already had bilateral neuropathy to begin with because of other neurological issues I have with like cartilage compression and discs and like some like discs in my neck like fusing together and stuff like that. And so, you know, sure, it's like what came first, what caused what, but the issue is that like it took me telling the fucking hospital like I'm gonna sue you, and then suddenly they started taking all these really 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 good records, and then like I finally get out and fuck, there's like all of these records from the hospital stay, and I can't find a single one that talks about how they gave me the COVID vaccine. And then like since then, like I have gotten the vaccine twice because I figure I already got it and I already got Bell's palsy, so it's like fucking whatever. Plus like even after like that happened, I still ended up getting COVID, and it wasn't that bad, I think, because I had had the vaccine. So it's like, well, I got Bell's palsy, but COVID wasn't that bad because of it, whatever. But it's just like really upsetting because like I did experience that and I do have it. It's very mild. And then like even after getting jaw surgery and having my TMJ replaced and having bone replaced in my jaw and nasal surgery and all the shit that happened like in September this past year of 2023, like you can still tell that I have very mild Bell's palsy, and part of why you can tell too that it's very mild is because I've worked very freaking hard to try and like remediate the fact that like part of my mouth like droops down a little bit, and like part of one of my eyelids is kind of like that, and the fact that like the right side of my body is like a little bit deficient from my left. And the thing is, like, I was gonna be in physical therapy anyways for the rest of my life because I think that's good for me, and I've been doing that since January this year. I think that's good for me regardless. But like there's things that I mourn, and then I also think that like they shouldn't have fucking done that. And then at one point what they put in the notes was that I started yelling out the door of the memory unit that they put me in there. So it was called. And I was saying that you're killing people by doing that. You shouldn't like force people to take the shot. You're gonna like kill babies. You're forcing like babies and people. And you know what? Maybe it's traumatic, whatever. I was triggered and I was like not doing great, and they wouldn't let me leave like that because I was pretty hysterical. But I also didn't feel fucking safe. And like if you already have PTSD and then you have fibromyalgia and you have like a connective tissue disease and like you get restrained, like your whole body already feels like a bruise. And so when you're like that, you're gonna start being in a lot of fucking pain.